After almost 23 years of waiting, the legendary actor Bruce Campbell is at last taking on his most iconic role again as Ash Williams in the next installment of the Evil Dead franchise. For the revival of our groovy Deadite killing machine, I think it's also time for a revival of the video games as well. But before we jump ahead, let me show you primitive screwheads a quick look at the past Evil Dead games. There's been a total of 4 official games, the first of which was a Commodore 64 game by Place Virgin Gold. It gave the player a bird's eye view as they kept Deadites from entering a cabin. Think of a very early version of Nazi zombies. 16 years later, we got Evil Dead Hail to the King for Sega Dreamcast and PlayStation 1. Hail to the King had a similar gameplay style to Resident Evil, but was given poor reviews. Next, what is considered by fans to be the best Evil Dead game, Fistful of Boomstick, blew us away. Back in 2003, this was the main game I always played. Before the discovery of Saints Row, this was my #1 game. Finally in 2005, Evil Dead Regeneration came out and was met with mixed reviews. It's been over a decade since the last Evil Dead video game, and today I'll tell you my ideas and what I believe any future game should hold.
Yeah, baby. Sing for the king.
With a franchise like Evil Dead, there's 2 possible choices for a video game. Either it could take a survival horror approach similar to Resident Evil, or something more on the line of slapstick humor like Dead Rising. Fistful of Boomstick was the only game that tried combining both, and as a result is the best Evil Dead game to date. So without a doubt, any new games to the franchise would have to follow the same formula.
Good question. You ever see a little movie called Deep Throat?
Nearly every Evil Dead game's had linear gameplay and a lack in level size. Fistful of Boomstick tried to be open world but was limited. An actual open world Evil Dead game would open up more possibilities and overall benefit the gameplay. One absolute bonus to the open world gameplay would be the ability to drive vehicles. You'd have a limited source of fuel though, so vehicles wouldn't dominate traveling. There would also be a currency system so you can upgrade your vehicle with cash. Any fully upgraded car would end up looking like the car from Army of Darkness, all pimped out and ready for Deadite Massacre. For the gameplay, it would be an overall combination of Dead Rising and Fistful of Boomstick. Third person, no health regen, and the slapstick humor Evil Dead and Dead Rising fans alike have come to love. The game will need 3 types of resources: money, fuel, and EXP. Money would be used to upgrade weapons and vehicles, fuel would only be used when driving, and EXP lets you upgrade your character, such as being able to have more health or hold more fuel. Instead of just missions, there should also be side activities and quests to help sprout the monotonous Deadite slaying and to expand the replayability of the game. Some activities could include Apocalypse Racing, where you race other drivers in a beefed out car through the Deadite-infested streets. Other activities can include protecting groups of NPCs from Deadites and collecting items for people. For quests, there could be objectives like closing portals and slaying large boss-like Deadites. For the locations in the game, I can see a few possibilities. It's not Evil Dead without time travel, so 1 or so maps could take place in the medieval era or during the Civil War like the past games. Near the end of the game, you could be sent to hell. That could make for some really metal gameplay. The main map, however, would be a decent sized map like Los Perdidos in Dead Rising 3. To make sure the gameplay stays interesting, there would have to be multiple types of Deadites. There of course would be your generic Deadites that are basically zombies. For others, you would have Deadite guards and warriors. These types are larger and have bladed weapons. One interesting feature from Fistful of Boomstick was the spellbook. It gave you special abilities like double strength and the ability to take over Deadites. The spellbook should return, but instead of finding the spells placed on the map, you could buy them from a trader. The spells you're able to buy will depend on your level, and just like Fistful of Boomstick, you'll fill up your spells by killing Deadites and collecting their souls. Weapon upgrades would be a combination of Saints Row and Dead Space 3. You can either spend the money to put together simple upgrades like larger weapon clips, or you can gather enough metal scraps to make a new weapon altogether. That was one of the best things from Fistful of Boomstick. If you gathered enough pieces for a blacksmith, he would build you the William gun, a Gatling gun that would replace your chainsaw. I guess I should mention, if you're not familiar with the Evil Dead series, the main protagonist is Ash. During his battle with the dead, he loses his right hand, so he replaces it with a freaking chainsaw. In Fistful of Boomstick and Regeneration, you get quite a few weapons to replace your chainsaw, like a flamethrower, snowball machine, and a jackhammer.
Oh, sorry. Slipped.
The new game shouldn't be any different. There'll be 2 weapon slots, one for your left hand to hold shotguns, pistols, etc., and the other will be for your chainsaw, Gatling gun, and any other weapon you create. There will also be an inventory similar to Dead Rising. This lets you pick up food, medkits, and metal scraps. You can use upgrades to increase your inventory and weapon slots. For the story, it could either take place after the last film, or you can go with something similar to Fistful of Boomstick, where audio tapes from the cabin are played over the airways, cursing the whole world into darkness. Moving on to unlockables, I believe they're an essential element in any video game. Maybe some weapons and vehicles, but most importantly would be unlockable outfits. Some outfits could include the S-Mart jacket and the night armor from the films. Another thing that seems essential for video games these days is multiplayer. A 2-player co-op mode would be fun, but for an actual multiplayer, I imagine a Gears of War Horde mode or Left 4 Dead game type. One team would play as the Deadites and the other would play as humans. The human team's objective would be to defend, while Deadites with infinite lives continue to attack before the time runs out. After the first round, the teams would swap sides and whichever team survives the longest wins. The multiplayer could unlock content for the single player like outfits or skins. Well, that's it for my Evil Dead video game wish list. I hope you enjoyed and agreed with some of my ideas. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.
You know, I bet you'd be some kind of knockout if you traded in the granny wear for a bra that pushed up your yams.